Yes, guys, hello. Welcome back to the Spurs-related audio podcast and YouTube channel. I hope you're doing very well this Sunday evening. And as always, we will be previewing the Premier League game upcoming, which is Monday Night Football actually this week. So your weekend wasn't completely ruined this weekend until maybe tomorrow, if you count that. But listen, without further ado, we've got obviously Andre as always. Andre, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm happy that my weekend was stress-free in terms of Tottenham, but we'll see what happens tomorrow.
Absolutely, Andre, absolutely. And we've got a couple of familiar faces in terms of obviously returning to, well, the lane, if you like. Obviously, Frank Lampard and Dele Alli, coming back to the lane after only a couple of, well, not even a month, is it? So that'll be interesting. Obviously, he'll probably get his penny's worth. But listen, we've also got a familiar face underneath us here. We have got Jack Burford, the main man himself. We had him on the podcast. I reckon it's been, 6, 7, 8 months, Jack? But
yeah, in the summer, still with Mourinho, and we were talking about the transfer budget, hoping that it would all turn around. But obviously, we've got the main man Conte now, so on to bigger and better things, I think.
Well, yeah, bigger and better things, Jack. But hopefully it is bigger and better things. Obviously, a bit of inconsistency. I say a bit of inconsistency. That's an understatement.
Yeah.
But listen, Jack, how you doing anyway, mate? It's good to have you
on.
I'm
brilliant. So happy to be on. Looking forward to having a good chat about Tottenham. Hopefully, we turn up this Monday Night Football. So yeah, it's great to be back. Thanks for having me.
No worries, Jack. I'm sure the Spurs relatables will absolutely love you. We've already got a few of you in the chat. There's already 10, 15 of you in the live podcast, Jack. Very different settings to when we had you on in Zoom last time. But listen,
very professional.
Let's welcome someone. Oh, you're saying Zoom wasn't professional, Jack?
Oh no, I'm saying this is perfect. That's what I'm saying, James.
I'm joking. Right, anyway, you got Iron Army, as always. Big yourself up. He says COYS, and he's also saying not watching Tottenham on a weekend is so refreshing, but having to watch it on a late Monday night, maybe worse. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we could actually get a week off to a bad start rather than the weekend. But listen, Gogeta's in here as well. Big yourself up, Gogeta. He says, my guys. Bobby K's in here. He says, why does that Andre guy sound funny? Is he Canadian? Lol. Big up, lads. Big yourself up. Bobby K all the way over from Canada. I hope you're having a nice afternoon, mate. You got a bit more of your day to get panicky about Spurs tomorrow. And as always, got Ellie as well. Says, good evening. Yes. Fine, lads. Let's go and smash Everton. Yeah, let's smash Everton. Yeah, stop crying, Frank Lampard. We'll love to sort of get on that bandwagon tomorrow evening. That would be absolutely brilliant. I'm actually there at the game tomorrow night. I'm actually going for the first time in actually a couple of months, actually. And I'm actually going Manchester United away as well. To get the tickets there. I'm absolutely buzzing. First away game. I cannot wait. I just cannot wait. It's just going to be unbelievable. But listen.
I'll tell you what, that will be. What a game.
Yeah, absolutely, Jack. Absolutely. And listen, there's obviously a few of you already in here. Please do hit that thumbs up button if you are enjoying the Spurs Related. I was about to say Relatables content then. Spurs Related content. And the Spurs Relatables are in here enjoying it. So listen, Gogeta saying Dele Alli masterclass.
Oh, don't say that.
Go on, Jack. What do you think of that? Do you think it's a possibility?
Do you know what? With Dele Alli, we'll always say he's got so much talent. So you can't put it past him. He's a fantastic player on his day. But I do think tomorrow we've got to get one on Frank Lampard, and I think we're going to be all right. I think we're going to have too much for them. We've got Bentancur coming back, and I think probably with Højbjerg, I think that's a strong midfield partnership. So I don't really see him having too much joy. But with Dele Alli, you never know. So I'm not going to say too much on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, Jack. I mean, honestly, it would be Dele Alli not to turn up, obviously, for the first few games for Everton. Almost like we got rid of him off our books, and then to come and haunt us, it would probably, I wouldn't put it off the cards. But listen, Ellie's saying a very good evening, lads. Let's go and smash Everton tomorrow. My prediction is 3-1. We'll obviously get the predictions in nearer to the end of the podcast, but Ellie's putting her, authority down straight away, 3-1, and I'm pretty spot on with them. Smash that like and subscribe button, all spot on. Love that, absolutely love that, Ellie, as always. Bobby K saying a Dele Alli masterclass is just a new hair dye in his hair. Don't get worried, lads.
Don't speak too soon, Bobby.
That's brilliant. And Gogeta saying, I think the game might suit us. Everton will look to knock the ball around and we can hurt them in transitions, hopefully. I mean, listen, we've done all the research. I'd love to say we've done all the research. Andre, as always, has done all the research. He's researched the main players. I have in my head who I think the main players are. I'm sure Jack does as well. But listen, Just a very quick question to start things off. It's a question for the panel, a question for the chat. What do you guys fear about Everton the most? And I'm not talking player-wise. I'm talking maybe, what do you think is their strongest point? Is it their counter-attacks? Is it their, attacking play up front? Is it their solid midfield? Are we going to get out-muscled in midfield? I'm going to go over to Andre first on this one, and then we'll go to Jack.
Well, I really do think that their attack can be lethal. Defense-wise, not so much. It's kind of the same as ours. We have for us, it's world-class players at the front, and then the further you go back, the worse the sort of the quality gets. And Everton seems to be the same way. You got Richarlison, you got Calvert-Lewin, Demarai Gray, and then as you make your way down, doesn't look very good. So it could be very much a game that gets won in the midfield, I think, more so than anything. And in terms of players, well, I've got 3 that we've picked out that we'll talk in a bit.
Yeah, absolutely, Andre. Yeah, exactly. The game could be won in midfield. I think it has done in the last few games, especially against Burnley, especially against Wolves when we got overrun by their 3 midfielders, their 3 centre mids against Winks and Bentancur. It was absolutely shocking. But listen, Jack, over to you on this one, mate. Straight into the deep end on the questions. I'm sure you're well equipped tonight. But listen, what do you think?
I love it. Honestly, I'm going to come from a different angle here, but I think our biggest threat, and I hate to say it, is Frank Lampard. He loves to get one over Spurs, so I really think he's going to be up for this game. I think they started playing well against Man City last week, and I think they've really fancied themselves, so they're going to be up for it tomorrow night, especially on a Monday night under the lights at Spurs. Frank Lampard loves to try and get 3 points on us, but you know what? Tomorrow, I think we're going to do him. I really do. I think we've got the quality. I think we need to show the board, we need to show Conte that we're a big side still, and we need to show the rest of the team. Like we saw Man United drop points today. Obviously, we saw Arsenal just about get 3 points. So I think it's a big. We've got to prove ourselves tomorrow, and I think we'll do that. I think we've got to win the midfield battle, like Andre said, and then show our quality up front. I think we've got fantastic players like Romero and Dyer coming back in. I think we'll be strong at the back, but I think it's a big game to prove ourselves.
Yeah, really good answer. I like that, Jack. Straight away, Frank Lampard being the main threat tomorrow. And to be honest with you, that's a really good answer. I didn't really think of that. I was thinking more, midfield or maybe, their strong attacking play like Andre said. But listen, Frank Lampard he always likes getting one over us. He loves it. He'll milk it. Our fans hate him. He hates us. It's a really good point. He's literally like the king of Chelsea in the last kind of 20 years. And I can't stand the guy, to be honest with you. Like, no, with no disrespect, like Frank Lampard, obviously amazing things for England. But at the same time, just every time we played Chelsea, even when he was their manager, he got one over us. And it was just so frustrating to see. But listen, it's a really good point. Let's get through a few of the chat points on this question. And then we'll go into the key kind of players and the key players to watch out for tomorrow. Lampard is a Chelsea legend, says Iron Army. Dele is a former player, and Van der Beek holds a grudge against us for Ajax. Doesn't sound fun. Yeah, very good points there. Gagetta saying, I think with Richarlison and Gray up front, they definitely have flair up top. It's whether they turn up on the day, weak defensively, so hopefully we can exploit that. Yeah, their defense isn't the best, and I don't even think Andre's put any of their defenders in this top 4. But listen, we'll get into that in a minute. Gagetta saying, I really hope that he plays Reguilon, not Sessegnon. Yeah, I'd love to see Reguilon back. I seen without talking about fantasy football too much, I saw 500,000 people took Reguilon out, and I was thinking, listen, I think he's going to be back today. I think he's going to be back tomorrow. Sorry, I think he's going to be back in the mix. And I don't think Sessegnon really, well, he didn't blow me away against Middlesbrough, certainly. He did well against Leeds away. But listen, most of the players did well against Leeds away because Leeds have forgotten how to play football in the Premier League. So Toxic Headshot saying we will win easily 4-0. Wow, really hope you're putting on a show. Toxic Headshot, I'm going to be messaging you tomorrow night if that's not the case. Bobby K is saying if it comes down to the midfield battles, we'll lose. We are too lacking in the middle compared to them. We really can't rely on Winks there again. Dude drives me to drink. And Gagetta, I'd rather see Cess, the Royale or Doherty. Listen, I mean, we've got some real problems at wing backs. We know that. We've got some real problems even since obviously Reguilon being out with COVID, and then I think he had some kind of small injury because he wasn't back straight away. But listen, I think we've really seen that we've missed Reguilon. We've really missed having a right wing back in general. I mean, it's just so, it's so inconsistent at right wing back. You have Doherty having a worldy game against Leeds and then absolutely shocking the next game. Sessegnon doing well, then shocking the next game. We just really need that summer transfer window for some of these positions. But listen, a few more comments and let's get straight back into Andre's key picks and then we'll get Jack's thoughts on it as well. Toxic Headshot saying our team on paper is so much more superior than Arsenal. I just don't understand what we're doing. We have Conte and we're still struggling to get top 4. I mean, Arsenal are 6 points clear now. I just looked at the table, 6 points clear of us. And obviously we've got Everton and Man United this week, 2 very difficult games. I mean, we have to get at least 4 points in my opinion. Joe's saying, please smash them. I want Everton to get relegated. Rafa Benitez, give him a statue if they do. Hashtag screw the toffees, all about the fudge.
There's
Love
your
that
Liverpool
hashtag.
fan. There's Joe.
Yes, there's Joe indeed. I'm sure you can remember Joe from the previous
I
one,
do.
all about Liverpool. But listen, Gagetta saying even though Doherty is poor, Royale is different level of poor. I agree with Toxic. 4-0. Lloris with 22 saves this time, says Bobby K. And it's maddening, isn't it? But listen, without further ado, Andre, please take it away. Who is the first player picked today? Or today? Tomorrow, sorry.
For tomorrow, well, my first one, I decided with Doucouré. I honestly think when Watford lost this guy, Watford became like a different team in a very bad way. This guy is very good, and the midfield really needs to look out for him. He's got at the moment 2 goals, 4 assists. He's got 79% pass completion. His tackle success isn't very good though, 64%.
Wow.
But he is a defensive midfielder. So for 2 goals and 4 assists, that's pretty good. And yeah, in general, his passing ability, his way to go up front and just surprise the team in the box. He's huge for Everton. He's like the heart of the midfield. And I would definitely think Højbjerg has a lot of work to do when it comes to this guy. And Bentancur as well, of course, if he plays. And if it's Winks, God help us.
Yeah, I'm Bobby K saying he's still got more tackle success than Winks, and he's saying 100% they lost a huge piece of the puzzle. Jack, what's your thoughts on Abdoulaye Doucouré? Do you think he's a top player? Do you think it's someone that could overpower, maybe if you say like Bentancur's back, could he overpower Bentancur even? Would he overpower Højbjerg? What are your thoughts?
I think it's a really good question. As Doucouré, I actually spoke to a few Watford fans and I was asking them to compare them to Moussa Sissoko and Capoue, and they all said they thought Doucouré was brilliant. They thought he was a massive engine in the midfield, but he lacked technical ability. So like
Right.
he was like a monster. His engine was fantastic, but he wouldn't contribute to too many assists and goals. As Andre just said, he's starting to add that a bit more. And if he can do that, I'm sure he'll be a great player. But I do think that with Bentancur and Højbjerg, we should still be strong enough, because I don't feel like Doucouré himself has enough going forward. But then they have got Donny van der Beek, they have got potentially Anthony Gordon, they have got Dele Alli who's dropping there. So they have got quite a nice balance. But I do think Doucouré is a strong player, but not someone we should be completely worried about.
Yeah, spot on, Jack. To be honest with you, what you said there is absolutely spot on. I mean, I would probably compare Doucouré to maybe a Victor Wanyama as opposed to sort of a Moussa Dembele kind of player. Victor Wanyama kind of sweeping up defensively and breaking up the play, winning the ball back, and then kind of going, have the ball, Moussa Dembele, you bring the ball forward. Have the ball, Christian Eriksen, you bring the ball forward. Back 4 or 5 years ago when my life was so much easier. But listen,
Yeah.
But listen, you're spot on. Doucouré is that player that will get stuck in. Maybe he's more of a problem, not for Højbjerg and Bentancur. Maybe he's more of a problem for actually our attacking players. Maybe he's going to break up the play for Kulusevski, break up the play when Kane comes deep, maybe cause an absolute nuisance when Kane's trying to ping those passes around. Toxic Headshot saying this guy is like a wink side to side. Do you know what? It wouldn't have been one I picked in my 3, but I really do see why Andre's saying it. He can really cause a problem in that midfield tomorrow, and I don't think we should take him lightly. I do think he's a good player, and I do think you're spot on, Andre, saying that Watford are a completely different team without him, because I don't feel like they really replaced him. I know what you're saying about, obviously Etienne Capoue, in terms of that comparison, but I mean, just I mean, Musa Sissoko scored against Arsenal today, didn't he?
Yeah.
So maybe not the best one to compare him to. But listen, I do think Abdoulaye Doucouré is better than those two players I've just mentioned, and I think he could be a real problem.
Interestingly, to be fair, obviously not every Watford fan is going to be Gary Neville, your Sky Sports, but they were saying they thought Etienne Capoue was brilliant for them, and they really liked him. And obviously, he's gone to Villarreal, he's won the Europa League, so he's clearly started to develop his game and potentially turn into the player we thought he was when he come to Spurs. I don't know if many people remember that, but we bought him thinking he was a young talent from a French side. But I think, he's developing as a player, and a lot of Watford fans did say they thought he was the best out of those three players. So that's just an interesting take.
No, spot on, Jack. Spot on. Really good point. Yeah, for sure. I mean, and just another player that's gone away from Spurs and won something. The list goes on. Etienne Capoue. Etienne Capoue, Juan Foyth. That's what I was going. I kind of mixed the two there. The two Tottenham boys that went over to Villarreal. But listen, I mean, we got to take it with a pinch of salt. I guess he's not like a world beater, but also at the same time, he is a very decent player. Henry is in here. He says, lads, I can see us losing or drawing this match. Well, welcome on into the stream, Henry. I love the positive vibes you're bringing, but big yourself up. Thank you for joining, mate. I hope you are doing well, but I can see why you're a bit negative at the moment, as are a lot of fans. I completely understand your frustrations. And it's definitely a tough time for Spurs fans at the moment for us all. We just got to kind of get back on the rails, get back on track like this video suggests, and kick on at home. We haven't been at home for 4 games. Listen, we've been away, at the Riverside. We've been away at the Etihad. We've been away at Turf Moor, and we've been away at Leeds. So listen, that's 4 games on the bounce away from home. The fans haven't seen much from a home perspective under those 62,000 seats for a little while. So listen, it's the perfect opportunity to bounce back at home and get these 3 points and get us back in a position where the morale's high from a Man United team that are at the lowest of the low right now, getting battered 4-1 by their rivals. 92% possession for Manchester City at one point in that second half, just absolutely battering and pummeling them today. Taking the
Can't all
piss.
be Antonio Conte Spurs.
Exactly. The Etihad away is not for everyone. Listen, exactly that, Jack. But let's move on to the next player. Andre, over to you, mate. Over to you for this one.
Well,
of course, it's no surprise here that the next one I picked is Richarlison. His pace is very dangerous. He currently has 5 goals and 3 assists this season. In his last 5 matches, he has 2 goals, 70% completed passes, 72% tackle success. So not too bad. Obviously, being on an Everton team, it can be a little hard to get your goals in, your assists in. I'm sure if you played for a better team, those stats would be higher. But as most people might remember from, I believe it was the FA Cup, that guy was a pain in the butt for all of us. Last season, I think it was, where we ended up losing, I believe it was 5-4 in extra time. And this guy was one of the biggest reasons why. So definitely look out for this guy. And he's been playing center forward for most of the season rather than on the wings. So he might be more of an issue for, obviously, our center backs rather than our wing backs.
Yeah. Who do you think is going to have the most trouble against Richarlison in terms of our back 5?
I think, it's difficult to see because Romero likes to push up, and I think pushing up is going to be a very dangerous thing to do with a pacey player like Richarlison ready to take advantage of that. And then obviously, as soon as he's bursting away, I don't think Dyer and Davies could really catch up to him. So it's going to be one of those things where the line, our defensive line, is going to have to really be working together to make sure no one's playing anybody onside.
Yeah. I mean, this guy is quick. He's pacey. He's great at dribbling. He can cause a threat. He can kind of create something out of nothing. Really, this guy is sort of the B-Tech Neymar. But listen, Jack, over to you on this one, mate. What are your thoughts on Richarlison? I know straight away you're saying, cracking player, decent player, but what
do.
Yeah,
I think he's a great player. I really do, and that's reinforcing the idea that I think it was a couple summers ago that Barcelona bid £70 million for them. To be fair, they've had some questionable transfers. Let's not lie here. They spent a lot of money on players that they haven't really used, but that money speaks for himself. He's clearly a very talented player. I think with the ball at his feet, he can drop a shoulder and turn. Do you know what I mean? He turns up against the big size. I think he's a very good player. I think when he runs with the ball, he's dangerous. Do you know what I mean? You know, like an example for me is when Eden Hazard played against Spurs. Oh my word! Every time my stomach dropped because you felt like he could make something out of nothing. And Richarlison is not at that level, but he still makes you fear. And I think out of Everton's side, he's definitely one of the main threats. And I think I do back our centre backs tomorrow. I do think Romero and Dyer have got that, but I think he's one to look out for. And I think he's something who could create something out of nothing tomorrow.
Yeah, spot on. Absolutely spot on. I hope you're right about our centre backs. Listen, they maybe we're being a bit harsh, but listen, they did struggle against even Middlesbrough with our strongest tight team out. I mean, Eric Dyer was probably one of the better players, but still was in a bit of a tangle for that Middlesbrough goal. Same as Romero, and same obviously as Emerson Royale when he came on. It was mainly his fault, let's be honest. But listen, there's no excuse. You can't just hide behind the players that have stinkers. Also, Romero, Eric Dyer. Even Davinson and Sanchez when he's featured, Ben Davies, they can't hide behind the fact that the other players have been bad. They've got to kind of take a bit of responsibility and look at themselves and be like, well, listen, we're conceding to championship level teams, we're conceding to Burnley away, we're conceding to all these teams. We haven't got the strongest defence. We know that, and this is the player that's going to cause us problems. I mean, if I had to say who's going to score for Everton, I mean, definitely this man would be up there in the pecking order. And Toxic Headshot saying Spurs need to attack and change the style of play and go all out. That's where we are at our best out throughout the years. Listen, we sat back against Middlesbrough in that extra time. I mean, I don't know what happened. It's almost like they had an extra tank of petrol compared to us. It was just an absolute shambles. Jack, did you go to that game?
I didn't actually go to Middlesbrough. I did have tickets, and then I would have had to left school early, lots of stuff, work. So I'm kind of glad I missed that one. But my mates who did go said it was an amazing night out. But then, of course, classic Spurs letting us down. But the only positive, you can't take positives from that. It was absolutely terrible, and I was devastated as I felt there was a good chance under Conte. But what I would say is, it is magic of the FA Cup, and they did take out Manchester United. And sadly, in the FA Cup, stuff like that can happen. So I'm just hoping, moving forward with my positive Spurs hat on, that we can regroup and realise that's not our level. We are much better than Middlesbrough. I do believe if we played them in the Premier League, we would destroy them next year. I do believe that it was a one-off game, and that just can happen. But it was also, like you say, James, you were talking about the style of play. They had an extra tank of fuel, and we just didn't. We were almost soaking up the pressure. And you think against Middlesbrough with Kulevski, Son, Kane, even with the win-backs, obviously not probably the standard we want to be at. Still strong players, and yeah, we sat back, and that was the hardest thing for me, not seeing my team play Championship side and absolutely go for it. And fair play to them. They won the game and fair and square, but we definitely need to work on that, especially against lower league sides.
Yeah, you're spot on. Yeah. Do you think it's just a little question on the back of that, Jack? Do you think it's a little bit of complacency? Do you think it's a mentality issue? Like considering, like in the 90 minutes, I wouldn't have said we were the worst team. I also wouldn't have said we were the better team. I thought it was a very poor even game, to be honest with you, until the sort of last 10 20 minutes of 90, and then sort of it was a bit end to end. But listen, I think at extra time we saw the Spurs that, as we know, are bottlers, as we know, are completely fragile when sort of the going gets tough, the atmosphere builds up at an away stadium. Do you think it is mentality?
I think it's mentality, but in my opinion as well, I think if you look at the players we've still got, they're so the same from 5 years ago. The same players that were letting us down. I was saying that if anyone's going to get the best out of those players, it will be Antonio Conte, and I'll stick by that. But it is the same players letting us down each year, week in, week out. And they can play well. Don't get me wrong. They can have 6 games, be fantastic. But when it comes to it, they still let us down. And that's what happened against Middlesbrough. And if you look at it, in my opinion, I don't like to scapegoat Winks all the time, but if you look at him, for me, he was playing a few tiny balls, but just completely getting overrun in the midfield. I think it was Howson for Middlesbrough. Borough had a field day, quick ball round the corner, and he was through. He just had all the time in the world in the middle, and I think, like you say, it's a mentality issue, but it's also as much of the players. We don't have many leaders at Tottenham, and that's something we seriously lack. Like you say, Harry Kane and he needs to focus on scoring his goals, creating like he's doing. We need someone in the middle of that park who can grab the game by the scruff of the neck and seriously talk to the players, communicate. With Winks and Højbjerg, no one was really doing that, because Højbjerg can't, in my opinion, he's fantastic, like he was against Man City, getting stuck in, keeping it tidy, making sure he wins the ball back. But he's not the type of person to drive with the ball in the midfield, find those game-changing passes. And we need someone like that to come in. And I think that's a serious issue that we need to make sure we find in the summer.
No, really good points, Jack. Really good points. Lacking leaders is what I took from that. The key point. We are lacking leaders. At the end of the day, even there, people say, "Oh, yeah, it's great having Eric Dyer back, leads the line." But is it really? Is it a proper leader? Is it a real sort of captain? I know, obviously, Lloris is the captain, but I mean, at the end of the day, how much can you be, leading the line from in goal? You've got to have leaders on the pitch as well. We've got Kane up front. Midfield, I think you're right. I think we really are lacking a leader in midfield. Sometimes I think Højbjerg does that role, but sometimes he's been a bit of a passenger in recent games. And then at the back, I mean, Romero is a little bit of a leader, but he's still very young. He's not a proper leader. When I say leader, we're lacking Toby Alderweireld at the back. Jan Vertonghen, they're leaders.
Do you know what it is, James? I'm sorry to interrupt, but I would quickly say it's like the leaders we're talking about, the experienced players, your Ben Davies, your Eric Dyers, Harry Winks. These experienced players that we're calling leaders, they're the ones who let us down. They were the young players 5 years ago. They were never the bulk of Tottenham. When we were had the fantastic run under Pochettino, these were the players that were struggling to make it into the squad. And now with Antonio Conte's era, these are the players that are starting week in, week out. And I think that's where you can see this is a serious problem and that we need serious investment to make sure we take that step to the next level. Because we're not going to get another chance like this. I'll tell you right now, Conte is amazing and we need to make the most of it. And I seriously think Daniel Levy needs to buck his ideas up because he's been a fantastic chairman for 20 years. But if he talks about building this stadium, building this training ground, then buy these players to take us to the next level, because this is what us fans deserve, and definitely the players that Harry Kane's on, because we do deserve it and we have the capability to take it to the next level.
Yeah, at the end, you're spot on. What you said about Winks, Dyer, and Davies, they're not winners, they're losers at the end of the day. And I know that's harsh to say, but actually, they haven't really won any. Well, they haven't won anything.
I think it was 8 semi-finals since 1991 that we've got knocked out of since we made a final, and probably Harry Winks, Eric Dyer, and Ben Davies have probably been about 4 of them.
Probably more. Yeah, I was going to say maybe 5 or 6. You're spot on, and at the end of the day, that's what happens when you keep these stagnated players that kind of, Eric Dyer's been great at centre back. I do agree, has been good, but I don't think he's really been at the levels where we need to progress under Conte. Ben Davies certainly hasn't been. I mean, people were raving about him between sort of November and January, and I said, look, Ben Davies will make mistakes soon. What happens next game? Starts making mistakes after mistakes that week where he made 2 against Southampton and Wolves. At the end of the day, I'm going to get it in like I do every podcast, Andre. It's paper over the cracks. Ben Davies is paper over this cracks in this team. We have to move on from these players. Same as Harry Winks. I mean, please. The guy, people have been comparing him to like a League One player. I don't think he's far off that, to be honest with you. I mean, it's really shocking. But it brings me on to one more question I wanted to ask you, Jack, before we go into the final player with Andre. But it's this question here from Toxic Headshot. I think it's a really good point. It's like, do you guys think Conte is the man to take us forward? I know you're really quite keen on Conte, and I am very much so keen. But do you think... I'm not in two minds. I do think Conte is the right man to bring us forward. I don't think there's many better managers out there than Conte. But I would just say very quickly before I let Jack talk on this point, there is no point having Conte if we're not going to get the players to work with Conte. We have to get to the summer. We have to invest. We have to get players that Conte wants to work with and not pick up the bullshit that he's been working with now. I mean, Conte's coming to Spurs being promised a big budget. And we've gone to January. We've signed 2 players. Okay, you'd argue that, both of them have been decent starts, especially Kulusevski. But at the end of the day, he's obviously going to want to play with players where he signed big players like at Inter Milan. Like, he's been working with Lautaro Martinez, Romelu Lukaku, Perisic, and then the decent defenders around it. Brozovic. Then you got at the back, De Vrij, Skriniar. Why? This is what he needs. He needs some of these Serie A players that are very decent 100%. Starting 11 players. So, anyway, over to you, Jack. I thought I'd just get that in there before you probably echo my thoughts there, to be honest with you.
No, honestly, you were spot on. You're talking like players like De Vrij, Skriniar. I think they've just got Bastoni now, a young Italian defender. Is literally, like, look at the spine of their defence. Fantastic. Brilliant. But then look what they've got. They've got the experience and youth. They've got that perfect balance. And he's got serious defenders there. And that's what Spurs need. We've still got players there from 7 years ago who couldn't cut it. And but going back to Toxic's question, I definitely 100% hand on heart believe that Antonio Conte is the man to take Spurs to the next step. yes, he comes out with brave interviews. He's not afraid to say the truth. Let's be honest. Like, he doesn't beat around the bush. He 100%. I honestly believe he's liking his time at Tottenham, but he realises it's such a job, and we need serious financial investment, and he needs all the players to believe in his philosophy and work with his winning mentality. Because I do believe the man he's done. Why should we question him as Spurs fans? Look what he's done at Inter Milan. Look what he's done at Chelsea. He's a winner. And look, even in his Italian squad, this is what gives me belief that he can also work with lower players. When Italy were going for a tough time, they weren't exactly winning all the games in nationally. He brought that side, I think it was to a quarter-final in the World Cup, losing on penalties. And I think his best player was like Mario Balotelli. He didn't really have any standout names. If you look at Italy in the past, they've always had fantastic players. But he got this group of players together and he made them believe. And that's what he needs to do with Tottenham. But he's not going to be able to do that if he doesn't get the investment, like a strong centre mid, like at least two strong centre halves. That's your bulk of your squad. You start from the back. You need two strong centre halves. You need a good player in the midfield, and then you work around that. Obviously, wing-backs is also crucial to how he works. He had Hakimi down the flank and Perisic. Look at the difference. Hakimi and Perisic to Sessegnon and Doherty. Seriously, let that sink in for a second.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous. Hakimi, obviously gone to Paris Saint-Germain, worth £60 million. Unbelievable. Perisic as well, going forward, knocked England out of the World Cup. Fantastic players. So I seriously believe, let's back him. Let's go for it, because we will seriously regret it and we won't know how we would have got on. So as a Spurs fan, it really frustrates me to think we've done this. We've got this far. Let's make the most of it.
Yeah, spot on, Jack. Spitting absolutely straight facts. And Toxic Headshot's back in here. He says, I am convinced now. Thank you, COYS. Listen, Toxic Headshot, this is why you're here, mate. This is why you're here, to get the panel to kind of cure your dissettlement. That's not a word, but I like making up words on this podcast. That's what I do. But listen, let's get through a few more of these comments, and then let's jump straight back into the player picks. Get said Dyer, Davies, Sanchez, Royale, Winks, Bergwijn, Lucas, Doherty, all out.
Wow.
I think one I would maybe disagree with. He's got to give Emerson Royale a little bit more time, even though he has been shocking. You have to give. I don't know about Bergwijn. It's probably for another day.
Oh, this is a touchy subject, this one, isn't it?
It's for another day. And the one I definitely don't agree with is Lucas, because, I mean, for me, Lucas, maybe it's the sentimental fact again, but I mean, Lucas is. Let's not forget, he was one of our best players.
We're not in a position right now to be talking about getting rid of Lucas or stuff like that when we have much more serious issues in our squad. I
mean, I think sorry to interrupt, Andre. I think Davies, Sanchez, Winks, and Doherty are good shouts. But I mean, I don't know about Lucas and Bergwijn. But listen, sorry, Andre, for interrupting. Please do.
No, I was just gonna say, I think we just have more serious issues in our squad than thinking about Lucas to sell him at the moment. We're not in that position. Maybe when we've done some changes, then yeah, sure, we can look at players that might be a weakness to the squad. But at the moment, he's not the weakest link, so we shouldn't be talking about selling him. Yeah. And just to quickly go through those points, because I wanted to say a few things, but you guys were all spitting facts here, so I was just letting you go. First, I think it's really disheartening to see that there were players that were brought in with the intention that eventually they would take over, right? Like they would replace the senior players, and they haven't. You have Dele Alli, who never really stepped up to the plate when it was his time. You got a few other players in there, Winks, who hasn't stepped up like he was supposed to. And unfortunately, as much as Levy, I guess, maybe wants to give them a chance, if that's the most positive light I can give him, it's looking like we need to move on from these players. It's time to start fresh. And unfortunately, at the same time, when you sort of have to move on from a player, whether it's because he wants to go or not, I think it's such a ridiculous thing to do by trying to replace him in a cheap way, and you end up spending more money than you would have on just buying one good player. Instead, you spend 4 or 5 seasons trying to find a replacement, spending 15 million each season, and you end up spending more money. Look at trying to replace Walker. We never really found another sort of Walker level right back.
No,
we've gone through Trippier, we've gone through Aurier, we've gone through Emerson, we've gone through Kyle Walker-Peters, we've gone through
actually a decent player, may I add, a good player.
I know,
Probably
but
better
that's
than
what I'm
Emerson.
saying. Why are we going through it? Like, why are we going through it? I mean, this is why I said don't get rid of Emerson yet, because I know maybe we have been sold a bit of a dad. You got to give him a little bit more of a chance than maybe 6 months. I think it's a bit harsh to, because this is the difference, right? This is the problem with some of these fans in this fan base, and this isn't calling out whoever put that. I think it was Gigetta. This isn't calling you out. This is just my opinion. I just believe that when we say getting rid of a player after, let's not forget Emerson joined in August. He joined as a right back under Nuno's 4 at the back system. Nuno was a manager that played 5 at the back at Wolves. Okay, Emerson comes in as a right back, but then you got Conte. You're like, oh yes, Emerson, Reguilon, they're going to have a revival. Reguilon has had a revival already. You can see he's leaps and bounds better at left wing back. Emerson Royale hasn't had a good few games recently, but listen, you can't be wanting him gone after 4 or 5 months. I mean, people are entitled to say that, of course, but at the same time, the players that we really should be pushing to go is, like Jack said earlier, the players that have been here 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Ben Davies has been here since 2013 from Swansea City when they're in the Premier League. He's nearly ready for his testimonial, the guy. I mean, honestly, it's ridiculous. Emerson Royale, I say you give till at least like 1 year of being here. I say you give him till at least the summer. Then you make a decision. Obviously, that's the next window he can go out. I would argue he should have at least 2 seasons. But what you don't do is you don't keep a Lo Celso here for 2-3 seasons and then realise that, oh yeah, you know, Lo Celso, let's put him on loan to Villarreal and then try and get some money of him. And Dombele we had for 2 good seasons, maybe actually 3. Bang, you know, back to Leon. Cheers, mate. You're not good enough. But then we're hanging on to Harry Winks, who we know has not been good enough for years and years and years. Eric Dyer probably hasn't been up to it for years and years and years. Doherty, he's been here 2 seasons now. Get rid of him. He's not good enough. He's not good enough. I mean, how many times do we have to keep players for years on end and then go, oh, actually, we might actually need to try and get some of this money back now?
Well,
I mean, Dele Alli went 3 years too late. Dele Alli wasn't good enough in 2019. Why are we deciding to get rid of him in 2022?
I can answer that very clearly for you. Because we keep switching managers. So then they're like, oh, maybe he'll play better under this manager. So then we keep him. And that's the issue. And that's why I 100% agree with what Jack said here, that we need to back Conte. And that's it. We're sticking with him. Go stick with the plan. Get him the players he needs and get rid of the players that could assist him. Do not go and sack him after 1 season, or don't back him and have him leave. And then we end up with a mishmash of a team that's half good enough for a 5 at the back and a team that's good enough for 4 at the back. Look at what happened with Emerson. I keep saying I'm going to stop sort of criticizing him because he's not a right wing back player. He's a right back player. He was brought in for a Nuno Tottenham forced system because he actually plays 5 at the back. But from what I'm hearing, Levy didn't want him playing 5 at the back. So he was playing 4. And so he brought in a guy who's good at right back. He plays well for Brazil, but no, we sacked him. We brought in Conte, and now everyone's criticizing Emerson, but he's playing out of position. And then look at Doherty. Yeah, he's not very good.
Yeah,
he's been playing better, but why? Because that's his natural position. He played right wing back at Wolves. So for me, it's almost like you have to look at players that don't fit Conte's system first and get rid of them, including players that aren't good at all. For example, I would get rid of Emerson if we stick with Conte. Then we need to get rid of Emerson. He does not fit a right wing back role, and he won't lose his value. We can still make some money.
agree with you, Andre. I think James, I totally agree with most of his points. But Emerson, I do believe, I think Go Get Us in the chat now. I just don't think he fits Spurs, and I don't think as a club we're ruthless enough. If you look at Chelsea, they've made some questionable decisions in the past, getting rid of the likes of De Bruyne, Salah, but their overall ruthlessness works. They bring in winners. They bring in another player who's just as good or fits their system. I think as a club, we need to start to move on. For us to progress as a football club, we need to realise that it's important. We can't have such an affinity to every player. If you're not working in the squad, if you don't want to be here, if you don't fit my manager's team, then you've got to go. And I think it's as simple as that. We've got to be more ruthless. And that's one thing I would add to Andre's point.
Yeah. And then my last point here. Look at how Arsenal did it. They took the time. They had a few not so good seasons, but they slowly worked their way into making a team that fits the way that it should, the system that they're using. That's what we need to do. We need to be patient. We need to be every season upgrading our team to fit Conte's system. We cannot just sack him after one season when we've done a few we were doing switches to fit his system. Bentancur is an amazing signing for Conte, and I knew he would be great. Kulu, everyone was a little skeptical, but look at how he's already on his way to beating Bergwijn's record for Tottenham already. He's very well on his way. I think another transfer window coming up here will have a lot of good outgoings and incomings, but we need to just be patient. And I think that is what Levy might have told Conte, and it's why he sort of relaxed. He's like, okay.
Ayanami with a very questionable shout in the comments. Can I quickly just add? Right centre-back Emerson. I've got to be honest, I really don't agree with that, but I'm sure you've said some fantastic things in the comments. But what does he, in my opinion, can't defend? Well, can defend, but not exactly the most composed player on the ball, even though he has a few tricks in. But no, right centre-back Emerson. No, I can't do heart attacks, to be honest with you. Don't think it's going to work. But I like the questionable shout.
Yeah. And we need to look at certain players that still have value that don't fit the system and get rid of them now before we make no money for them, because that's another thing Tottenham wants and something that Levy needs. He always says we need more money. Okay, then look at some players that we need to get rid of that still have some value. Get rid of them. Emerson, we can still make money for him. He had one bad season. It can be looked at as a fluke. He'll go. We should not be talking about getting rid of Lucas or Son. No. We should be looking at people like him, looking at people like Sanchez, looking at Davies, who's paper over the cracks, as James always says. We should be looking at those players that still have some value, that don't fit the system, get rid of them so we can make some money. And then I would rather we get rid of 3 players that are not good at all and bring in one very amazing player like a Botman or something.
Botman, yeah, I mean, that's for another video entirely, what players we're getting, because this is an absolute mess. We're talking about the players that need to maybe not stay here for longer. But listen, there are so many comments coming in. Big yourselves up. There's 20 of you across all platforms watching live. But listen, everyone's loving the talking points. I'm loving the talking points, the random sporadic talking points, the spontaneous talking points.
It has gone off trail, but I do enjoy it.
It has. It's gone off the Everton
I love it.
preview. But listen, I want to answer a couple of very quickly. Guetta's point here. You need to remember, we always say we should give people time, then we give them years and years. It's that balance, Guetta, for me. It's that balance between, like I said, maybe giving Emerson a little bit more time, but not giving him 3 or 4 years like Giovanni Lo Celso and Ndombele have had, where they've had 3 seasons almost. That's when you know after 2 seasons they're not going to fit in this system. Under Poch, Lo Celso and Ndombele weren't good enough. Under Mourinho, Lo Celso and Ndombele weren't good enough. At the start of the Conte tenure, Lo Celso and Ndombele didn't want to be there. Neither did Dele Alli. That's why they're gone. Step in the right direction. Paratici, masterclass. He's cooking. Get the players out there that don't want to be there. Loan to buy. Do what you got to do. We'll accept like 20 million for Ndombele. We're never getting more for him. Let's be honest. I mean, I'd be surprised if we get 30 or 40 for Ndombele. He's absolute trash. But listen, it's that balance for me, Guetta, without going after Emerson's played 15 games for the club, and we're saying we want to get rid of him. I get he's been poor, I really do. I was the first person to say he was shocking against Middlesbrough when he came on. He was at fault for that goal. But listen, you have to give these players time to bed in, but not too much time where you're just thinking, he'll get better soon. He'll get better soon. That's the Dele Alli effect. 2018, he was class. 2019, what's happened to Dele Alli here?
I think that's the Tottenham effect in general.
2020, he's still not good. Maybe we should get rid of him. Let's hang on to him, because 2021 we had Mourinho. Yeah, he's going to revive his career. Amazon documentary starts off well. Shit. He calls him a lazy cunt, etc. Sorry, I don't like using that word on this podcast, but you get the point. And then 2022, we finally decided to offload him. It's too late. We have to get rid of these players earlier. But that's what I'd say to your point there, Gogeta. And the other point was, someone tells me why Royale deserves time. Just kind of going on that point there. He can put a ball in. He can put a good cross in. Maybe the crosses aren't perfect, but actually he does deliver quite a lot of crosses. And I think to myself, we should have players in the box sometimes for these crosses. And listen, he's not good. He's not solid defensively. Jack, you made a good point there. But listen, I still give him more time, especially over Matt Doherty. For me, Matt Doherty.
But he doesn't fit the system. That's the thing. He just doesn't fit the system.
But Andre, who would you rather have, Matt Doherty, or Emerson?
Well, no. If there is a good opportunity in the summer to bring in an actual right wing back, like a Lamptey or something, then
Jack,
get
did
rid
you
of
say Doherty?
Okay, you're gonna hear me out here. See, I'd like to think hear me out. I generally think they've both got to go. Don't think they're both good. Either of them are good enough. I think Doherty, the only reason I'd have him is because we're not going to get much value out of Doherty. And I think as a third string right wing back or second string right wing back, he's more useful than Emerson. As Emerson's still young, he's got a bit of value to him. And like you say, played for Brazil.
Please,
He holds a bit of value. But I don't think he fits Conte's good enough. Sorry, Jay.
You were saying word for word. You're
Matt
saying
Doherty.
word for word what I said.
But I genuinely believe Doherty is a better asset to the Tottenham squad than Emerson is, and that's my honest opinion because I just don't think he does anything for us. But
I agree with you.
I'm up for debate. I know it's a questionable topic, but I don't think either of them are good enough for Tottenham.
No, I agree with you. I was saying this in the last podcast, the exact same word for word points. Like, we're not going to get much for Doherty, and he actually fits a right wing back position. I would rather
he's not good enough, but he might.
He's not good enough. He is not good enough. But if you have to choose between Emerson or Doherty to get rid of them, you would get more money for Emerson. He does not fit the system, and you could bring in someone else who can be the first team player in the right wing back position, like a Lamptey. I don't think Doherty's going to put much sort of pressure because he's so upset that he's not playing as much. He's already, he knows. I'm sure he knows, and he will get some chances.
I think he cares a bit more. In my opinion, I could be completely wrong, but I think Doherty, he knows the players. He gets on really well with Harry Kane, as we can see. He's part of the squad. He feels like he's let us down a bit. As you can see in his interviews, he really wants to play. He just hasn't been fantastic. I think he was really good against Leeds, obviously with their defence. Like, we can't read too much into it, but I do feel like, I'm not going to say it's a turning point, definitely not going to say that, but I do feel like he cares. He wants to be at the club and he wants to show that he's not as bad as he has been. And I do think he is a better asset than Everton Royale. But anyway, I don't want to talk about that for too long.
Look, if we sack Conte now and we bring in a manager that plays four at the back, then that changes everything. That changes everything.
I just can't believe I'm sitting on. Honestly, lads.
Conte, we give him what he needs. You need to look at players that don't fit the system and get rid of them.
Because
what's Matt Doherty done?
He's gotten a little better.
We're not exactly talking about Ronaldo and Messi here. We're talking about Matt Doherty and Everton Royale. We're not talking about the two best things since sliced bread. We're having a debate about the worst things possible, in my opinion. Like, thanks for your time at Spurs, but you're not good enough, lads. I think this is a debate that not many people will be interested in. But yeah, thank you for your time, but you're both not good enough.
Yeah, Doherty is not good, but you would get more out of selling Emerson and a better replacement.
That's what I say. In a financial sense, in a business sense, I think it'd be a smarter move to sell Emerson. But anyway, moving on.
I don't know about this. I want to go on, but I'm not going to. Ellie's saying, I love this show. Well done, lads. Great debate, great content, always well presented and on point. Big yourselves up. And if you're feeling like Ellie does and you're loving the podcast and you're loving the guests on that we have and you're loving the content, please do smash a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're new, because we are here all the time. Pretty much, most days at the moment, 4 or 5 times a week. But listen, there's been so much chat. There's been so much chat about Emerson. I read a comment saying that Lucas should be sold and we should keep him at all costs. The guy has 1 league goal. Bergwijn has 2. Both in the same game. Come on, man.
Interesting.
I'm not going to sit here and talk crap about Lucas. I just can't do it. I can't do it. The man.
Could you debate about that? Could you say?
We just have we have positions that are in more need of attention than to look at that right now.
Yeah. Thoughts on Hill? Valencia fans are chanting for him. Go on, Jack.
So I was just going to quickly say, I think we should stop focusing on our attacking players, especially Lucas. Do you know what I think we need to find? That I think Liverpool have got spot on. You need to find the experienced players with young players. They get that right balance. But young players who have got a lot of potential and they're already starting to produce numbers. That's what I feel like we need. I think Lucas is fantastic. But I don't think we should swap Lucas for a young player. I think we should keep them both, embed them together. I think Lucas is brilliant. Come off the bench, he's burst the pace, he works so hard for the club. I think he's a great player. And I don't think we should sell him just because he's not getting the goals and assists that we want. I think we should use him along with another fantastic player, another young player that complements him so we can work together. We need to find that right balance. And I think we should stop being so, like you said, James, stop being so irrational and getting rid of players that still have a lot to offer. So I do think in the summer, bringing quality young players, and Luis Diaz would have been perfect. Kulevski looks really good. But work together. Kulevski, Lucas, Bergwijn, Son. We've got a bit of depth now. let's build on that and start to compete, because we need quality players if we want to be in multiple competitions to compete. That's why Chelsea, that's why Liverpool, that's why Man City are so successful, because they've got so much competition for places.
See, it's hard to hear you say that because honestly, Lucas is the definition of a player who does not live up to the potential. I'm sorry. Other than that one game, obviously everyone knows what I'm talking about. What game? Other than that one game, the guy does not live up to the potential. He always, even Conte said it. He's like, this guy should be scoring more goals, giving more assists, but he doesn't. And I don't know why.
So, Andre, what you're saying, what would you disagree with one of my points that I've said, which is
you were
completely
saying
fair
he's
enough.
brilliant and everything, but I personally don't think he is brilliant. I think he never actually.
No, I think what I meant to say is, I do apologise, is that he's a brilliant squad player, and I think we should keep him around. I'm not saying he's a brilliant week in, week out player. I'm not saying he's going to be the best player. That's why I'm saying we need quality players to bring in with him. We need quality depth. Like you look at Chelsea, I'm saying they've got Pulisic, they've got Havertz, they've got everyone. They've got lots of quality players, and I think Lucas is a quality player, not week in, week out producing numbers, but I think he's a great person to have around the squad. I think it's about finding that balance. I'm not saying that he's someone who's going to get you that league title, that cup, but he's someone to have around the squad, and I do think he's a player to keep around. Would you agree with that?
I agree with that, just because I think that there are other positions that are in much more there's much more urgency needed. The center backs, the right wing back roles, the midfield, all those positions need to be fixed right now. Like I said, our team is a world-class team at the front, and then as you make your way back, it gets worse and worse.
No, I agree with that. I think we need to
fix
build
all those positions, and I think, let's say we stick with Conte, by year 2, if we've brought in a lot of good players, Lucas will either be relegated to the bench, or it might be time to get rid of him. Because personally, if I was building a Tottenham winning team, I don't think I would have Lucas on there, just because I think that he doesn't really step up to it more often than not.
For me with Lucas, right? I think he's suddenly been done dirty by a lot of Spurs fans. I do think we're forgetting at the start of the season who was our player of the season. Pretty much by 100%. A long shot. He got taken off by Nuno in El Sacco. It was a terrible decision. I was at the game. The fans booed him. He was the best player on the pitch for Spurs. He gets taken off. We lose the game 3-0. And suddenly Lucas is then one of the main men under Conte at the start of his era. And he scored a lot of goals. He scored a lot of goals. The goal against Norwich, the goal against Palace. He was scoring. Pretty much, he was either scoring or assisting for a good period of time. And I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, well, what's he been doing recently? Kulusevski's come in. He's taken his place. Kulusevski's shining for Spurs. He's scored 2 goals in 4 games and an assist already. Kulusevski is what this team needed. However, you can't just say Lucas Moura needs to go. Lucas Moura has to come out of this team. He's still a very vital player off the bench.
Do you know what it is?
Andre, no, wait. Andre, if you get rid of Lucas Moura there, and we don't sign any players in the summer, which obviously we will, but if you get rid of Lucas, right, who out of this rest of this bench now, which is Pony, is awful, who do you bring off the bench if it's not Lucas or Bergwijn? Who do you bring off? Who do you bring off the bench?
All right, I'll tell you right now. Like I said, I would not sell him right now because we don't have anyone. He's good right now.
I thought you were going to come out with Alfie Devine there. I was waiting for an Alfie Devine. Oh.
Yeah, but no, I think for a team to be a winning team, we need players who are consistent more often than not. And Lucas is not consistent. He isn't. And I know a lot of people watching right now can agree with that. He's not consistent. To me, he just screams sort of like Lamela, where he comes in for a few games, he's on form, and then he just disappears. He's done it every season. And I think, again, like I said, I'm not saying sell him right now. I think eventually when we are at a better position in terms of the signings, the rebuild and everything, he would be a player that might have to go, because I still believe it's a matter of squad depth. I think it comes down to it. We're debating about getting rid of Lucas. I know you're saying yourself that obviously about strengthening other positions first, but squad depth for me is the most important thing. I think Lucas is a great squad player. I think he's a great player on his day, but the reason why Chelsea is so successful is because they swap a lot. Look at Man City. They swap a lot, and it keeps all players fresh, and it keeps them on the same task. So I do believe, like, we're comparing Kulusevski and Lucas. Kulusevski's been brilliant since he's come in, but he's also a lot different player to Lucas. Lucas will
play with his heart for 90 minutes. He'll get stuck into challenges. He'll make great runs. He's also been more creative this season. I think he's been brilliant the first 6 months. Obviously, he's had an injury, been a bit out of form lately. But Kulusevski's coming from a different angle. He's creative. He's got a wand of a left foot. So I think it's about getting that balance. They could both play in the same team. They both play the same positions, but they're different players. So I think having them both around is perfect. We don't need to get rid of one of them. We need to build on it rather than decrease our squad.
And also, Jack, the other thing is on your point about looking at like Man City. I'm gonna say looking at Chelsea. You might have actually said it. Looking at Chelsea, right? The players that they have had for years and years and years, and I know what the instant comeback is. You're gonna say because they've won stuff, they're winners, they've got that winning mentality. But look at Chelsea, right? They're bringing players year after year. They've got the funds to do that, or maybe not so, as the case with Roman Abramovich putting the club up for sale. But listen, they've signed Pulisic recently, they've signed Lukaku recently, they've signed Havertz recently, they've signed all these players, right? But they still
and they all don't start.
But hang on. They still have a core, and some of them do still play. Azpilicueta, Marcus Alonso, they're still in that team. They've been in that team for 6-7 years. Now, I get what everyone's going to say. Lucas Moura's been here. What's he done? He hasn't scored enough league goals, etc., etc. But there comes a time where you have to still keep a core of a team, but then build on that team like we're trying to do, but we need to invest more. Lucas Moura is one of the last people I would get rid of out of the players that have been there 4, 5, 6 years. I would have got rid of Ben Davies over Lucas Moura. I would have got rid of Matt Doherty before Lucas Moura. I'd get rid of Harry Winks before Lucas Moura.
Yes.
I'd probably even get rid of Eric Dyer before Lucas Moura, because I'm sick of these players that cause mistakes week in, week out. And I know you're going to say, well, Lucas Moura can't really cause a mistake from being up front, and Lucas Moura is not contributing enough. And maybe further down the line, if we get to the summer and we do sign another right winger or a left winger, and then Lucas becomes third or fourth choice, that's when you then go, okay, maybe it's time.
That's when you reassess. That's when you
not now.
That is what I'm saying, though. I'm saying if we want to win, if we want to be a winning team, we need to be such a team that we're looking at an inconsistent player like Lucas Moura and going like, it might be time to go.
But it can't all change in one summer, can it?
I know.
You can't just go like that. We can't have our hands and get rid of all these players.
I'm not saying this window.
What you're saying, and James, I just think, like you say, it's one to look at, but we seriously need to realise we've got much bigger problems.
Yes. And like I said, I'm not talking about this window. I am talking windows from now, that this is a player that we might have to look at. Because I wouldn't, if I'm having a winning team, yes, Lucas is decent, but eventually I would look at it and be like, okay, this is an inconsistent player for me. I don't think I can have him on my squad.
Yeah, fair point.
Honestly, this comment here says it perfectly. Every footballer should be giving hard work. They should be working really hard, and it should not be this big thing that, oh my God, they're working hard. That's great.
I think there's a difference between hard work and doing everything possible. I think there's a difference. I think all players, professional footballers, give hard work, but Lucas will literally do everything. You see him running to the last minute, doing everything possible. This guy will do anything for the club, and I don't think that's a trait in itself that should be admired. I think, like you say, totally agree. Every player should work hard, but there's a difference when you've got such an engine, you've got so much quality. Like, I think that's an extra asset. Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree. And I've said, and I'll end it here so we can go to the next point, to the next player. We went around a huge
about half an hour, yeah.
I will always try my best to back a player who is still wearing a Spurs shirt. So if Lucas sees what's happening with this team, he finds his place. Maybe he finds he's better as a cam or something, and he starts working his way and he gets better and better and he becomes consistent. Then of course, I've always said I want to be proven wrong when I'm questioning Spurs somehow. If I think they might lose, I hope I get proven wrong and they win. I will never be like, yes, I got it right. Spurs suck. I'm never going to think that. So if Lucas changes it around and starts becoming more consistent as the team gets better and better, it's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move on to the next player. As we said, like maybe hanging on for players too long, maybe talking about ex-players, and here we go with another ex-Spurs player, which Andre's nicely brought into this subject. So we then go back off on a tangent and talk about Townsend and Dele Alli. I absolutely appreciate that, Andre. But listen, over to you, mate.
All right, thank you. Well, I will say, before everyone starts saying, where's Damari Gray? He's at the moment, he might play or he might not play. Calvert-Lewin, the same thing. But we'll talk about injuries in a little bit for them. So Townsend, he's actually at their moment their top scorer. He hasn't been as consistent at the moment, but he has 7 goals and 4 assists from 24 matches. He has 1 goal and 1 assist from his last 5 matches. 79% completed passes, 56% tackle success. So, I would say most people would say don't worry about him, but he has some good goals under his belt, and he comes out of nowhere. If you guys remember that goal against Man City.
Oh, that one.
Oh, man.
Amazing.
Yeah, so I put him to look out for him just because he's the top scorer, and mainly because the other 2 players that I mentioned earlier, right before talking about Townsend, might not be playing, or they might come off the bench. So if this guy's starting, we need to keep an eye on him because he has his moments, like Lucas. He has his moments of brilliance, and could hurt us. And I'm not saying that Lucas and Townsend are same. Lucas is better. Just putting that there. But yeah, there you go.
Over to you, Jack. What are your thoughts on Townsend?
Townsend, you know what? I think if we're talking about Lucas Moura being inconsistent, I think Townsend is exactly inconsistent. I think with Townsend, he has got a bit of magic. I think, hopefully I haven't got this wrong, but he's one of the left foot. It's unbelievable. The way he cuts in, he's very one-footed, but he can score from anywhere. Like you've seen, some of his best goals, like most of his goals have been absolutely fantastic strikes. I remember when he scored a hat-trick for us in the FA Cup. You can see he has glimpses of brilliance, Townsend, and I don't think he's a terrible player. And I think he's probably done quite a good job at Everton this season because he has that experience and he has that still has quality. But I do think his career is petering off. Like you say, he's starting doing TalkSport interviews now, along with Jack Wilshere. Clearly, don't see their careers progressing too far.
What do you mean? Jack Wilshere's in the dizzy heights of the Danish league.
Oh, I do apologise. Did you see that clip the other day of him hitting the post classic? Slating Spurs saying he wouldn't join us, but mate, you can't even get into the Danish league. So I think you should focus on your football more than slating Tottenham. But
listen, I really enjoyed him alongside Andy Goldstein and Darren Bent. 2 absolutely great football pundits as well. He's got to be said. I mean, they've been producing some great content on TalkSport, and Jack Wilshere really does, add to that with his monotone voice, and just it makes me want to go to sleep. And do you know what? Something about Jack Wilshere. Again, we're going off on a tangent. One of the last games I saw at White Hart Lane was Tottenham v Bournemouth in 2017, and Jack Wilshere was playing for Bournemouth, and someone broke his leg, and it was the biggest cheer of the whole game, 4-0.
Oh, no,
and the biggest cheer was Jack Wilshere's leg snapping, and I absolutely loved it. It was one of the best moments ever. But anyway, Jack, that was a tangent. And over to you, Jack Wilshere. Absolutely from Giga.
Yeah, to be fair, enough of Jack Wilshere. Let's not focus on him too much. We've got a lot better things to talk about. He's in the past now, mate. Let's be honest. Take your money at TalkSport. But Andrew Townsend, like you say, I think he's got that moment of magic. I think he's a good player. Don't ever think he's going to be a great player, as he just doesn't have that consistency to his game. He's not a fantastic footballer, and I don't think he should be one of the main players we're worried about tomorrow. But like you say, he's playing an old club. If knowing us, he could turn up. But one player I'm going to add, I don't know, I hope I'm not skipping the boat here, but a player that I've always rated, and I think it's a questionable shout, is Demarai Gray. I think he's someone who actually has got that magic, and I think he's got the agility, the skill to have a big game if he is playing tomorrow. But Andrew Townsend, got to be honest, good player, but not one I should be too worried about.
Well, like I said at the beginning, I do. If it wasn't for the fact that both Demarai Gray and Calvert-Lewin are questionable at the moment, they would have made this list.
Yeah, Demarai Gray, when he was at Leicester, I remember, I think he cut in and then scored a fantastic goal against Manchester United. When I watch him, I like to watch players who get me excited, get me thinking, wow, they can get a goal out of nothing. And I've always thought Demarai Gray's had that, even when he was at Birmingham. I think he was a hot, young, talented player, and one that a lot of people were excited to see. And when Leicester got him, I was thinking, I would have done with him at Spurs. And I think there's a few deadline days. I don't know if you remember, James or Andre, where we were like, Tottenham might put in a bid for Andre Gray. Andre Gray? Demarai Gray.
Andre Gray. Well, the Watford guy.
No, definitely not him. I can assure you of that. But yeah, no, I do think he's a talented player, and one that I wouldn't, in the past, I think we've got to move on now, that I wouldn't have been too disappointed if Tottenham signed.
Okay, makes sense.
Nice.
And just to continue on what you were saying, Demarai Gray at the moment, he has 25 matches, 6 goals, 3 assists. So he's actually the second top scorer for Everton at the moment. So definitely, if he does start, keep an eye on him.
Yeah,
but again, that is the only reason he's not on here is because he's very questionable because he was sick earlier in the week. But if he does play,
him, James. Oh, sorry, Andre.
No, I was gonna say if he does play though, don't even worry about Townsend. Worry about Gray.
Who do I rate? Townsend or Gray?
Yeah. Who would you have, Townsend or Gray? Are you a fan of Gray yourself?
Tamari Gray is a decent little player, but listen, I don't think he's really hit the ground running at Everton. He scored that amazing goal against Arsenal, so yeah, top tier player for banging one in the top bins against Arsenal in the last minute. Yeah. But listen, Tamari Gray,
Oh, did he freeze?
Oh, I'm not sure. I think he might have done.
I think so.
Oh, he's back. He's back, I think.
He's back.
Well, I just decided to, I think it's because I said the swear word Arsenal.
Must have been.
Tamari Gray, top player, bags of speed, bags of agility. Can hit a ball as well. Maybe he's got that inconsistent side to him, but I do think he's an exciting player. I do think he's miles above Townsend.
So who would you have? Who would you be more worried of?
Townsend or Gray?
Yeah.
Townsend, if you were playing FIFA, I'd put the controller down. I don't think that guy's going to do anything anymore. I think he's a
don't
say
player. That. Don't clip it tomorrow, please.
No, listen, you can remember it. 1 hour, 5 minutes. I will not be coming back from Tottenham with Townsend scoring. And if it does happen, I'm probably going to be clipped throughout the whole internet. I just don't think Townsend, I think he's ready to get his walking stick. I think he's a pretty finished player. He might be their top scorer, but also Everton having one of their worst seasons in years. And thanks to Rafa Benitez, the agent himself from Liverpool, absolutely fantastic scenes over at Goodison. And stop crying, Frank Lampard will be ringing around White Hart Lane tomorrow. And I cannot wait to get the popcorn out and join in on that one. But listen, let's go to this bonus player. Let's go to this bonus player before I do get clipped for tomorrow. Your question is ludicrous, says Gagetta. Lo, don't embarrass yourself. I supported this club for 14 and 15 years and haven't seen us win anything. I watch pre-season games and anything to do with Spurs. Oh, right, sorry. There's a bit of an argument in the chat. Your question is ludicrous. Listen, Gagetta, Favali, we respect you both for being in the chat. Some of you have been in here, for a long time. Please get on. Please, obviously have a debate. We've had a debate today. I thought I was going to throw my Pepsi Max can at the screen when Andre and Jack started saying about Emerson. But listen, we're all Spurs fans here. We all have an opinion. Please be nice to each other. This is a community where we like to get on and support each other. So I do not want any arguing in the chat. And that is for sure. And now we go on to this bonus player, Andre, which I think you put in here for a little bit of a mean reason.
Oh, here we are.
Of course, it's the elephant in the room. It's Dele Alli, everybody. Of course, we have to talk about Dele Alli. He just left. And I'm hearing in the Twitter sphere that watch him score a banger against Tottenham. Please stop.
Oh, classic Twitter. That's all I heard on Tottenham Twitter about Dele Alli.
Don't talk like that. Yeah, don't talk like that. Oh my God, that would just be crazy that he comes in and scores a worldie against us. At the moment, though, he's got four matches. Has not played 90 minutes in any of them. Usually.
Oh really? I thought he played 90 minutes. He looks like he's put on a right sweat there. Sorry, I thought he must have played 90 minutes. Maybe he came on for 10 minutes after his TikTok shoot. Carry on, Andre.
And actually, his the amount of minutes he's played has dwindled each game. He started playing around. I think he played a good second half, and then after that, it went to 20, then 19, and 18 minutes. So I don't know what's going on with Dele Alli. I don't know if Lampard's not liking what he's seeing in training. Although from what we've heard, obviously he's lazy in training. So I don't know. But again, we have to at least bring him up. We can't be a Spurs-related podcast and not bring up a player who just left the club, who might start or come off the bench.
And let's not forget, he was a great player for the club. And I don't want to talk about it too much, but he was a fantastic player on his day. Obviously, we don't know if he's going to ever rediscover that form. But I think what he did for us in Pete Pochettino years, he was fantastic. Look, he was the first, before Lampard and Beckham, to reach 50 Premier League goals. He was unbelievable. And I want to give full credit to Dele Alli because I loved watching him link up with Harry Kane. 2 goals against Chelsea at home and then also against the, not Battle of the Bridge, when we beat them at Stamford Bridge for the first time in 19 years or whatever it was. I think he was fantastic. And it's a shame to see where he's come from. But I want to say full credit to Dele Alli. I loved watching you, but it's time to move on.
Yeah, I love it. Guys saying, I love Lucas, loves the club. I love how Lucas loves the club. He wears his heart on his sleeve and does give his all. Just think we need to look at the past him now to progress as a club, Ellie. And he's also saying, Gagetta, I've supported Spurs for 59 years and played for Spurs ladies, and I love Spurs with all my heart. Born and bred in Tottenham. That's why I love Lucas, because he loves Spurs too and gives his all. Big up Ellie, ex-Spurs player as well in the chat. What an absolute honour that is as
Love
well.
that.
We have 2 ex-Spurs boys, Townsend and Dele, to face tomorrow if they both start. And also, I'm just scrolling up a little bit more, and I can't find the comment now. Someone put, here it is. Bodril says, what happened to Siggy? What if we have 3 Spurs players playing against us? Bodril, Sigurdsson now plays for Prison FC, along with Benjamin Mendy and Mason Greenwood. And like Ageta said, we don't talk about that around here. So, I don't know if you haven't seen the news on that one, but Sigurdsson, let's just say he wasn't interested in football recently. Ellie's saying, I'm not disrespecting you. I'm proud to debate any issues and defending the player. I respect your opinion, and that's why we all respect the opinion. And of course, Alex Hilton's in here saying steak. That is his normal entrance, and that is just a normal thing for Alex Hilton to do. But listen, I think that tops off the Dele Alli thing. I will say one more thing. Townsend's not scoring tomorrow. Dele Alli's not scoring tomorrow. Spurs are going to win. And this is time to quickly go through the head-to-head records. And Andre, stop covering your mouth as if I'm going to curse something. You know,
no, it's just because I feel like you might have just clipped yourself there. Watch all those things.
No, James, I've got full faith in you. Don't you worry.
Dele Alli's not going to score. Andros Townsend's not going to score. The only player I could see scoring for Everton is the B-Tech Neymar himself, Richarlison. And other than that, I think we'll be fine. I think we will win the game 2-1. I'm getting my score prediction in early. I've kind of jumped the gun there. But actually, let's go through the head-to-head record very quickly between Tottenham and Everton in Monday night football itself. And listen, it's going to be an interesting one. There is always goals in this game. And as we can see from the last 5 between Tottenham and Everton, I say goals, it was 0-0 at Goodison Park at the end of last year. So forget about that one. That was Conte's first game. You're spot on, Jack. Then 2-2 in 2021 in the Premier League. Kane got the brace and Sigurdsson got a brace. And listen, Sigurdsson won't be needing to be worried about tomorrow. Everton 5, Tottenham 4 in the FA Cup in 2021.
Whoa, crazy game.
GPS Sanchez scored a brace. 1-0 Everton in 2020 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Calvert-Lewin with a 1-0. I believe that was over lockdown. And then Tottenham 1-0. Michael Keane own goal. With the win on that one. But there's always goals in Spurs Everton. 6-2 in 2018 at Goodison. 2-2 the game after that. 1-1, 5-4, 2-2. There is goals in Spurs Everton. I really do think there will be goals. But listen, we're going to go with the standings. Spurs are sitting in 7th on 42 points. Everton are sitting 17th on 22 points. 1 point above the drop zone. Then this is the caliber of opponent we're playing tomorrow. And Everton away from home lost their last 3 away from home. Norwich 2-1, Newcastle 3-1, and Southampton 2-0. All teams in the bottom half of the table. And Tottenham, obviously at home, lost their last 2 against Wolves and Southampton, but beat Brighton 3-1, lost to Chelsea 1-0, and then beat Morecambe 3-1 in our last 5 games. And obviously, our last game was against Middlesbrough. We don't need to go on about that. But listen, after those head-to-head records, guys, what are your thoughts? What are your score predictions? Guys, it's now your time to put your score predictions in the chat, and we'll get to them. There's still 20 of you across all platforms. Big yourselves up. Andre, Jack, what are your thoughts for tomorrow after reading out those head-to-heads? And are you confident?
I'm going to go with
Andre's
2-1.
still thinking. Oh, Andre's 2-1. Okay, let's hear it.
2-1. I think it's going to be a tight game. I think the Doucouré and even Van de Beek will bring something new to Everton. And it's going to be a midfield battle more than anything. I think both the defense in both Everton and Tottenham is not very good. So it will be more of a sitting back type of game, trying their best to sort of not allow any of the speedy players like Son or like Richarlison to get through. But in general, I do think we will have the sort of we'll get it over the line on this one. I think that our front 3 are much better than the Everton's front players. So 2-1 for me.
Got you. 2-1. 2-1. I love it. 2-1. I was going to go over to Jack, but Jack's turned into a white circle with a white avatar. So I'm going to go through what the chat think, give my one, and then we'll finish off on Jack's prediction. Bobby K's going for a 2-0 Spurs. Lloris to make 22 saves. Love it, Bobby K. Bodrill's going for a 2-1 Spurs with Andre, saying we'll win, but a lot of finger biting on the Everton set pieces.
Yeah.
I would agree on that one. Genuinely don't believe we will win this one. I say 1-1, says Neil Williams. Neil, love the realism on that one. Tapi was saying that's Ali. He's still shit. And Neil Williams saying Hilton saying to Neil Williams that it's 2017 because we know Dele Alli is going to come back and haunt us. Alex Hilton's going for a 3-0 Spurs, and Dombele should join Lampard because he's fat as well. That comment got to me when he said that. I'm clocking out, boys. Great discussion as always. Up the Spurs as always. It's the Tottenham boys making all the noise everywhere we go. 2-0 win for us, says Gagea. Big yourself up, Gagea. Thanks for your talking points tonight, mate. A pleasure as always. Thanks for sticking through the whole hour and 15. But guys, if any of you have got other score predictions, please put them in the chat. But it's over to my one. I am going for a 2-1 Spurs as well. I said it before. Andre said it. 2-1 Spurs. I think it will be a sort of early goal from us. Then we'll probably sit back, kind of been back to the whole Mourinho kind of game where, well, maybe also the Conte game where we're playing too much counter-attacking football. We'll concede a City goal, maybe Richarlison, the B-Tech Neymar will score. And then I think Harry Class A Kane will score and we will win 2-1. And it will be an important 3 points going into the battle at Old Trafford. I just see it. I really do see it. I just think 2-1 is no excuses tomorrow. You know, Everton are 17th. We have to be strong favourites going into this, and we have to prove we're strong favourites. We have to play them off the park, attack aggressively early, not sit back. It's very, very important not to sit back in this one. And that is the reason why I am going for a 2-1 Spurs win tomorrow night. Ellie's gone for a 3. Hello, Jack.
Nope. Guys, can you hear me?
Yes, hello, mate. How you doing? He can't hear
No, I don't think he can hear us. That's all
anyway,
okay.
3-1 Spurs. Sally, what a shame. I wanted his score prediction.
Audio. Hello.
Jack's having a shocker. Bit of comedy at the end. Listen, 3-1. 3-1, says Ellie. Hello, Jack.
Guys, can you hear me?
Yes, mate.
Yes.
I think I've had a shock. You can hear me. I can't hear you. This is not
no.
Okay.
Apologies, guys. My AirPods have cut out, and then I've gone to get another pair, and now I can't hear you guys. But I must say, if you can't hear me or you can hear me, it's been a pleasure to be on. So I do apologise. But I will give my score prediction. Thank you, Andre, for in the chat. I am going to go with, let's go for it, 3-0 Tottenham. I'm going to go with a brace from Harry Kane, and I also think Kulevski is going to score. So yeah, I think we've got to turn up tomorrow. I think Donny, I'm just going to quickly say, I think Donny van der Beek is going to be a strong player tomorrow to look out for. And I also think Anthony Gordon is a player to look out for. Also, to end, because I can't hear you guys, it's been a pleasure to be on. Come on, you Spurs. Let's turn up tomorrow and back the boys. Come on, you Spurs.
Big up, Jack. Big up, Jack. Get your loving for Jack in the chat, guys. He has been an absolute diamond. Can't even hear us at the end for the effect. Absolute scenes. We could be saying anything about the guy right now, and he hasn't got an absolute clue. Bobby K saying, be a good show, lads. Bodrill saying, big up James and Andre and Jack. Richarlison, he flops where he wants. I'm seriously hoping Winks won't play. He's seriously bad. I love Spurs, but we might lose again, says Tafiwa. These so-called small teams. Bodrill's going with a COYS. Jack's gone for 3-1, did he say? Andre's gone for 2-1. I've gone 2-1. We're going to win tomorrow for the Spurs, boys. Up the Spurs. You've been great. Spurs Relatables, please hit that like button. Please subscribe. Big up, Jack, for joining. Big up on Spurs. As always. Jack hasn't got a clue what's going on. But anyway, guys, absolute pleasure as always. Thanks so much for joining. Thanks so much for sticking in the chat. And we'll be back tomorrow for the review. Actually, we won't, because I'll be at the game. Unless Andre wants to do one, so keep an eye on the community section. And guys, you never know, we might be live tomorrow, but it might not be the familiar faces. But guys, all the best. Have a great Sunday evening, and cheerio. Forgot to get in the come on, you Spurs. Andre wants to say it as well. I know it.
Okay.
Big up, Jack Burford.
Come on, you Spurs!